The movie starts with a tale of how everything came to be. The Titans, mighty beings, once ruled the universe, but their rule was ended by their own offspring. The brothers Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades overthrew them. Hades created the Kraken, a huge sea monster, which helped them defeat the Titans. After their victory, Zeus created humans and became their ruler, and Poseidon took control of the sea, and Hades, tricked by Zeus, was forced to rule the Underworld. As time went on, Zeus and Poseidon grew stronger from human prayers, while Hades found power in fear. However, humans started to question their creators and rebel against them, and a child was born during this time of unrest. A fisherman named Spyros found a coffin floating in the sea and brought it aboard his boat. Inside the coffin was a boy and his deceased mother, and Spyros adopted the boy, and a woman from afar saw this and named the boy Perseus. As Perseus grew older, he began to question his origins, but Spyros reassured him that he was still considered their first child, even after his wife gave birth to a daughter. Years later, Perseus, now a fisherman like his father, and his family were sailing to the city of Argos. Upon arriving, they saw the city's soldiers tearing down a statue of Zeus and throwing it into the sea. Spyros was scared but told Perseus not to intervene. Suddenly, the sky darkened and bat-like creatures descended from the sky, attacking the celebrating soldiers. And this was a clear sign that they've declared war on the gods. The creatures killed all the soldiers and then merged to form Hades, who then attacked Spyros' boat, causing it to sink. Perseus tried to save his family but failed, and unfortunately, he was the lone survivor. Meanwhile, Zeus was angry at the humans for their defiance, and Hades arrived in Olympus and persuaded Zeus to let him punish the people of Argos. Zeus agreed, hoping it would remind the humans of his love, and Perseus was rescued by Argos' soldiers and brought to the city. The soldiers announced to their king Cepheus that their mission against the gods was successful despite the heavy losses. The people cheered, and Cepheus promised a new era where gods would no longer control men's fate. The king's daughter Andromeda warned them of the consequences of angering the gods, but her mother dismissed her concerns. Suddenly, the room darkened as a cloud of black smoke appeared, just like at the statue of Zeus. The huge dark smoke creature began pulling the soldiers toward it, using the smoke as a magnet, and all the men died in the cause, consumed one by one. However, Perseus was able to resist for some reason, and the smoke revealed itself to be Hades, who was intrigued by Perseus' resistance. Hades then drained the life force from the queen of Argos and all her beauty, turning her into a corpse. As everybody was standing in terror, Hades declared and cleared himself, and he will unleash the Kraken on the city in 10 days during a solar eclipse unless they sacrifice their princess to the monster as punishment for offending the gods, including the mighty Zeus. Before leaving, Hades revealed that Perseus was Zeus' son and was responsible for the upcoming disasters. The soldiers would take Perseus hostage, and their leader, Draco, tortured him for answers, but Perseus knew nothing. However, a woman named Io, the same woman whom we saw across the mountain naming Perseus, visited Perseus and confirmed his identity as a demigod. She explained that before his birth, King Acrisius led a siege on Mount Olympus, but Zeus punished him and then slept with his wife, the queen. When Acrisius found out, he ordered his wife and Zeus' newborn child to be executed. However, before he could cast out the mother and the son into the ocean, Zeus struck him with lightning, turning him into a hideous monster, but he still managed to pick up the coffin he placed them in and throw it deep into the sea. Io told Perseus that as a demigod, he was the perfect person to kill the Kraken, and if the Kraken died, Hades would also be weakened since the monster was part of him. Realizing this was his chance for revenge, Perseus joined Draco's soldiers. They planned to seek out the Stygian soldiers who knew everything to find a way to kill the Kraken. Meanwhile, Hades visited Acrisius, who was now an outcast living in the city's sewers. He told Acrisius that Zeus' son had arrived and offered him the chance to be his weapon of vengeance. Hades gave Acrisius great power and promised to destroy Zeus if Acrisius killed Zeus' son. Meanwhile, Perseus and the soldiers have reached the forest, and he discovers a radiant light that seems to be calling him. It turns out to be Zeus, who had given him a magical weapon from the heavens. He's amazed by the glowing sword's power, but he refuses to accept anything from the gods, blaming them for his family's death. Soon Perseus sees many winged horses, but before he can admire them, a giant black winged horse lands behind him, causing him to fall in fear as the creature spreads its huge wings. Io, appearing from behind Perseus, explains that the creature is Pegasus, a magical creature sent by the gods to help him defeat the Kraken. Their conversation is interrupted by a terrible scream nearby, which makes Perseus run toward the soldiers. He finds that Acrisius had easily killed 2 of his comrades, and the monster begins attacking him. After chasing him down a hill like a terrifying beast, the creature leaps into the air and crashes down with great force, narrowly missing Perseus. Perseus tries to fight back with his sword, but the monster was too strong and bites Perseus in the arm, causing him to scream in pain. Luckily, he manages to escape as the other soldiers rush in to help him, but they're quickly defeated by Acrisius and his immense strength. The monster turns its attention back to Perseus and grabs his head, but Draco saves Perseus by cutting off the enemy's hand. Realizing that the creature is hurt, Perseus immediately chases after the monster with his men, unaware that the severed hand is quickly transforming into a terrifying scorpion. The soldiers follow their target into some ruin and decide to split up. Soon, one of the teams manages to ambush the enemy and knock him down, but they quickly realize something is wrong when the ground starts shaking and claws appear from the sand, allowing Acrisius to escape. Giant scorpions start to emerge from the ground, and the men were forced to fight for their lives as the monsters attack soldiers furiously. The warriors are quickly overwhelmed by the creatures as they're stabbed by the scorpion's tail and sent flying across the field. While the monster was distracted, Draco takes the opportunity to jump onto the giant scorpion, stabbing its back with both its blades, and one of the men throws its spear at Draco, allowing the warrior to use the weapon to stab the scorpion's body, finally killing one of the vicious creatures. At the same time, Perseus tries to attack the giant monster furiously, but is hit by the creature's claws and knocked to the ground. The scorpion grabs Perseus and smashes him onto a pillar, trying to kill him with his venomous tail, but Io intervenes before the final strike and cuts off the creature's weapon. The scorpion quickly charges at Io, trying to kill her, forcing Io into a structure as the monster continues to attack viciously. Luckily, Perseus saves her at the last moment, and the two run desperately away from the palace while the scorpion chases close behind. Realizing that there's no way to run, Perseus throws Io away from the area and prepares to fight the creature alone. The giant scorpion launches at Perseus with all its might and crashes into the structures before landing on the ground. The people watch in shock as the creature appears to devour the demigod, but Perseus manages to break open from the scorpion's stomach and kill the monster at the same time. Before the people can celebrate their victory, other soldiers run toward them as more scorpions appear from behind the hills, surrounding the team with nowhere to escape. Just when the enemies were about to attack, the creatures freeze in place as chanting can be heard from a distance. Draco immediately recognizes the mysterious people as jinns, enemies that they fought years ago, but Perseus believes that they are allies as they are responsible for stopping the monsters. In addition, the jinns are able to control the giant monsters, essentially taming them and turning them into transportation. Although hesitant at first, the soldiers quickly decide to trust the jinns, as this is the only way to make the journey before the eclipse occurs. With the use of the scorpions, the party was able to travel across the lands effortlessly, finally arriving in the Garden of Stygian, home to the dangerous witches. The group makes it onto the mountain as night begins to fall, eventually climbing to the peak as they tread carefully toward the center. Very soon, 3 hideous creatures without eyes appear in front of the people, and the witches know exactly what the warriors are looking for. The blind witches demand payment for their knowledge and begin attacking the soldiers, but Perseus manages to steal their only eye and threatens to destroy it unless they offer them a solution for killing the Kraken. With no other choice, the witches tell the demigod that only Medusa can slay the giant beast, as her gaze can turn anything that's flesh into stone. Satisfied with the answer, Perseus throws the eye onto the ground and plans to leave, but the witches tell him maniacally that he'll die on his journey, no matter how much he tries. After hearing this unpleasant prophecy, many of the people choose to abandon the mission, leaving only the soldiers and the leader of the jinn, who desires to exact revenge on the gods for banishing his people into the deserts. While heading down from the mountain, Perseus runs into the mysterious man who approaches him from behind, but soon finds out that the person is none other than Zeus himself. The deity tells Perseus that he's not going to defeat the Kraken, nor take vengeance on Hades, as confirmed by the witch's prophecies. Zeus wanted to offer protection for his son so that he may live in heaven alongside other gods, but Perseus refuses immediately, choosing to live and die as a man instead. instead. Not wanting to see his son fail, Zeus gives Perseus a golden coin so that he may travel safely to Medusa's lair, as the place requires significant payment. After venturing across the lands, the group eventually arrives at the giant hole inside the surface of the earth, where a ghostly river covered in fog appears in front of them, and Perseus takes out the golden coin that was given to him by his father, and the djinn throws the items into the water while chanting a spell, trying to bribe the ferryman to take them into the underworld. Very soon, numerous dead souls appear from the water while pulling a giant boat toward the group, and the sinister demon welcomes the people on board. They travel across the haunted river filled with melted rocks from the earth's core, and the people eventually see a clearing as they finally reach their destination. The soldiers move forward onto the rocky field and finally reach the entrance of Medusa's lair, and only men were allowed inside, so Io stays behind to wait for their return. Inside the cave, they see statues of men frozen in place by Medusa's power, and they hear a woman's crazy laughter in a distance, realizing that the monster must be nearby. Suddenly, arrows are shot at the soldiers, causing them to fall into the lava pits below. Perseus tries to save the djinn while holding on, and Draco tells the warriors to chase after Medusa to flank her, while Perseus manages to throw the djinn to safety. The soldiers try to avoid Medusa's gaze, but they quickly turn into statues and break into pieces. Perseus runs alongside the djinn, hiding from Medusa as he lures her into the open. Medusa chases after Perseus, trying to tear him apart. Draco waits for the perfect time to ambush Medusa, and Perseus lures Medusa back to the djinn, who slashes at her head but misses and gets captured by her tail. The djinn tries to turn Medusa into stone but fails, and the djinn blows himself up, causing an explosion that knocks Medusa and Perseus away. Draco appears and traps Medusa by breaking a giant rock on the ceiling, and Perseus aims for Medusa's head through reflections on his shield, and he slashes at her neck while keeping his eyes closed, causing Medusa's head to fall to the ground. Perseus was the only survivor carrying Medusa's head, and he sees Io stabbed in the back by Acrisius and thrown against the walls. Perseus tries to avenge his friend but gets overpowered and knocked down, and Perseus fights back, stabbing Acrisius in the leg, but he gets punched away, and Perseus leaps into the air and strikes Acrisius, forcing him backward. Acrisius falls into the abyss, turning back into a human once again before he meets his demise. Perseus tries to save Io, but she tells him to stop the Kraken and save the people of Argos before the eclipse, and just then she dies and vanishes into dust. Pegasus appears, offering Perseus a way back to Argos, and meanwhile, back at Argos, the sea floor opens up, releasing giant tentacles rushing toward the city, and this is the ultimate Kraken, and he's here to finish them all. Elsewhere, the people tie Andromeda to a platform as a sacrifice for the Kraken, and his tentacles destroy the city, and because of the strength of the strikes, the palace in Olympus shakes. Finally, in heaven, Hades reveals his trick to Zeus, and Perseus plans to slay the Kraken. Hades turns into his demonic bat-like form and steals Medusa's head. Perseus chases after him, arriving in the city where Kraken tentacles were killing innocent people. Perseus shakes off the bat demon and goes after Medusa's head, and the Kraken emerges from the ocean, roaring at the people and of course at the sacrifice. However, Perseus pursues the flying demon, barely avoiding the Kraken's attack. He grabs onto the creature, crashing into the building and landing behind Andromeda. The Kraken tries to devour Andromeda, but Perseus uses Medusa's head, turning the Kraken into stone. Just then, he slowly solidifies and halts his attack, and its arms also stopped mid-air before it was able to destroy the people. Hades appears in front of Perseus and tries to take vengeance for killing his monster, but just then Perseus summons lightning from the sky and throws the weapon at the enemy, causing a powerful shockwave that sends the evil deity back into the underworld. Perseus jumps into the water and swims quickly toward Andromeda, eventually managing to grab her hand and saving her from drowning, as both of them make it onto the beach unharmed. Andromeda offers Perseus to be her husband for saving her life, but he refuses, and he desires to live as a free man. And shortly after his departure, he gets a visit from Zeus once again. His father asks him again to go back to heaven with him and live forever as a deity, and Perseus, uninterested, gazes at the setting sun and tells Zeus that he would prefer to stay here as a human. Zeus accepts and even rewards him by reviving Io from the dead, and she appears to be reunited with Perseus, and the father reminds his son that he will always be there whenever he needs him. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch our next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you on the next one.